Hello and welcome to Hughes of the World, Denmark, episode 47. If you've been keeping count, just gonna make you a little bit brighter there. Oh no, I'm too bright now. More whited out. That's a bit better, isn't it? Somewhere in between the two. Probably just put it back to where it was. I don't know. Hello and welcome to Hughes of the World, episode 47, with me, Graham Hughes. I'm the Hughes, and this is the world. But we'll come to that in a moment. Oh, hang on, we just got the intro sequence again. We don't want that. And I just want to say, first of all, a big shout out to the lovely people in the chat. We've got Ivan Ambrose there. We've got Diz in the chat. We've got Benjamin. We've got Anne Phillips. We've got Asperger's Europe. We've got SG in there as well. If you'd like to join our friends in the chat today, it's just a small group. It's just a small group talking about the countries of the world. Just hit that subscribe button, which has now disappeared. Subscribe button. Yeah, that's what you want to do. Okay, so we're going to be talking about Denmark. Denmark. A small Scandinavian nation with a massive global influence. Regularly ranked as one of the happiest places on earth. It's a land of bicycles, wind power, Viking heritage, modern design, and Hygge, which is that wonderful glow that you get when hanging out with your mates, nice and cozy, by a fire, you know, talking shit with your mates, just having that nice feeling of just contentment in just sort of hanging out, you know. It's a nice word. We don't have it in English, but we should. It's progressive. It's egalitarian. It's environmentally conscious. It's the home of Lego, home of Hans Christian Andersen of The Little Mermaid fame, and also Smørrebrød. It is compact in size, but huge on quality of life and the cultural impact. 10 interesting facts. Number 1, Denmark has more pigs than people. True story. About 28 million pigs they have in Denmark, compared with a population of just 5.4 million. The concept of Hygge, or Hygge, I say Hygge, but it's Hygge. Say it right, Graham. The concept of Hygge, coziness, comfort, contentment is central to Danish life. Denmark has no mountains. Its highest natural point is only 170 meters above sea level. It's the birthplace of Lego, which was founded in Billund in 1932. If you get to go to the original Legoland in Denmark, you're a very lucky badger. The Danish monarchy is over 1,000 years old, one of the oldest in the world, one of the oldest continuous kind of monarchies in the world. Wind power supplies over 20% of Denmark's electricity. The Danes drink more coffee per capita than any other nation. Over 4 cups of coffee per day. They must have very sticky poo. In 1989, Denmark became the first country to legalize same-sex unions. Absolutely. The first in the world. Denmark. Good old Denmark. It's also home to Christiania, which is the self-proclaimed anarchist commune in Copenhagen. We'll talk about that in a moment. And the Dannebrog, which is the national flag, is the oldest state flag still in use and dates back to 1219 AD. That's pretty cool. I think that's pretty cool. Lol, says Benjamin. If you drink too quickly with your mates, do you get hiccups? Well, it's pronounced Hygge. It's like how people pronounce my name when I was traveling through Africa. They'll see Hughes, and in a francophone country, they'll go Hygge. They didn't quite know which letters to just miss out in the pronunciation of it. My name has got a ridiculous redundant G and a ridiculous redundant H in the middle of it. That word will sound the same in English without those 2 letters in the middle, which is really, really silly. But, you know, what can you do? Anyway, so let's just dive. Should we dive? Deep dive? Dive into the geography? Should we head into the geography of the place? Okay, let's do it. So this is this is a planet called Earth. Sometimes also called the world or the Terra system. Can I call it the Terra system? I don't know. There's a little bit of the option screen there that's showing, and it's kind of annoying me, so I'm just going to make it a little bit bigger so I can't see that little option thing there. Sorry, I get really pernickety about these things. Yes, too. I'm infuriated by the last 2-3 weeks. Oh, sorry, mate. I hope I haven't been infuriating you with my, tardy start to the show. I realise I'm about to start the show and then I realise I haven't made my animated Denmark flag for the corner of the screen. And I'm like, oh shit, quick to Adobe Premiere. I have a flag to make. Anyway, so we will zoom into France. No, not France, Denmark. Here we go. So here is Europe, as you can see. And here is the United Kingdom. Sounds more sarcastic, by the way. Here is Iceland up here. Now, here is the Faroe Islands. I'll mention these in a bit because this is part of Denmark. And over here is Greenland, which is also part of Denmark. It's not quite as big as it looks, you know. It is fairly big, but it's not as big as it looks on the Mercator projection. So here's little Denmark here. It juts out. It juts out of Germany. And this bit that juts out of Germany is called Jutland. That's easy to remember, isn't it? So we can fly into here, into Jutland. And then we have Billund here. This is the capital of Lego. You can see there, that's actually, that picture there is Lego. That's not a city. That's a Lego. That's Lego. And the capital is over here on this island, which is called Zealand. And there's Copenhagen. It's spelt in English. It's spelled Zealand, Z-E-E, land. Not to be confused with Zealand, Z-E-A, land, which is in the Netherlands. And that's what New Zealand is named after. New Zealand is not named after here. This is the island here of Finn here. And when I was a little wee nipper, if you wanted to get from Copenhagen to Billund over here. Oh God, where's Billund gone? Where's Billund gone? There. I should know. I've driven this. I drove it last year, actually. I drove from Copenhagen to Billund. Billund over here. To get there, it was a bit annoying because there was a bridge here. See this island here? This bridge is a bit older, I think. I'm sure that was there. But this massive, insane bridge here from Zealand, the island of Zealand, onto this little island here, which I think might have been artificially constructed, over here to Finn, the island of Finn. This wasn't here. So you'd have to go to the port, which I think was around here somewhere, and you'd have to take a ferry to get across. It's very hard to get over to Copenhagen, from Copenhagen to Legoland on the day. You generally have to go the day before and then start your Legoland adventure the next morning. So here we go. Here's Copenhagen here. Which is nice. I like a bit of Copenhagen. And over here to the west of Copenhagen, I'm going to just make the words a bit bigger so you can see them, is the wonderful land of Roskilde, the home of the Roskilde Treaty, which was a bit of a tragedy for Denmark, but we'll get to that at some point. It's also where there is a Viking museum. See this Viking ship museum? Oh, it actually comes up in English. That's all right. And I was there last summer. And they launched the Viking ships into the harbour. It was absolutely brilliant. They needed like 100 people to put these longboats into the water. It was fabulous. Roskilde is also famous for the Roskilde Film Festival. What the hell's wrong with me? Music Festival. And it's the same weekend as Glastonbury. So if Glastonbury's not on for a weekend for whatever reason, or you fancy or you don't get a ticket to Glastonbury and you want something to do that weekend, Roskilde is the same weekend and it is a bloody brilliant festival. I've got to say, I've been twice. I've been 3 times actually. I went for one day back in 1994. Bloody hell. That was a long time ago. And I went 2001, I think I went, when there wasn't a Glastonbury, and I think I went in 2006 maybe when there wasn't a Glastonbury. I might be getting those dates mixed up. But yeah, there was 2 times I went, and it was a bloody good laugh both times. SG, thank you very much for the super chat. Graham, you should bring your Lego globe onto a corner of the screen in honor of the stream. Oh, I should have done that, shouldn't I? I'm gonna get like a little sideboard here, and I'm gonna put things on it when I'm doing shows, and that'd be a good idea. Actually, it's just over there. I could go and get it. But thanks very much for the super chat. Do that again. Super chat! Woo! Thanks very much, SG. We tend not to get too many super chats here on Hughes of the World, but it's fine. I just want to get this information out there. There's all this information, buzzing around my head, I need to get it out there. So anyway, if you are going to go to a music festival in Europe, Roskilde is pretty cool. There was a tragedy there. I think we joined a Pearl Jam gig in 2000, in which people were crushed at the front of the gig. People died. And as a result of that, the safety at gigs was taken a lot more seriously than it had been before. And we started seeing the advent of things like separation barriers between the mixing desk and the very front of the stage, so you couldn't have that same swell of people pushing forward. But to be honest with you, the gigs that I've been to in the last few years, I don't think there's any danger of something like that happening again, because the people who are into rock and roll are all dead old, and they all tend to stand there with their arms folded at the back, sort of nodding to the music. The days of mosh pits are long over, I think. Anyway, this is Malmo. This is in Sweden, and you can fly in to Malmo. If you can't get a cheap ticket to Copenhagen, fly into Malmo. Top tip, fly into Malmo. And from there, you can get the train over to Copenhagen. Now, this is wonderful. This is the bridge that connects. This is the Øresund Bridge. This connects the two countries of Denmark and Sweden. And it is an absolute engineering marvel. This part of it here, where it says E20, that bit there, that is a tunnel. And then it comes up in this artificial island that was built that actually has a helipad on it, which is quite cool. Has it got actually a plane? Can you land planes on it? That seems a bit mad to me. Okay, whatever. And then this bit here is a bridge. The reason being, if you want shipping to be able to get through this bit, right? You want ships to be able to get through there, and Denmark is the home of Maersk, the biggest shipping company in the world. If you build a bridge over there, you can't get the ships through. So they built a tunnel for this little bit here, and then a bridge for this little bit. It's very cool. But like the bridge connecting Zealand to Finn, it's really expensive. Like, it's like 50 quid. I'm not even kidding. Like, you think that the Tyne toll is expensive, or the Mersey tunnel. Woo! You ain't seen nothing yet. It's inexpensive to go over these bridges, but understandable. Now, as you can see here, we've got these little lines along here. Now, you might think they're submarine cables, but they're not. They are actually where ships can go. And there is a ship that goes from, so if you're ever in Hamburg, right, this is quite cool, right? You're in Hamburg and you get on the train to Copenhagen, okay? And you think, but trains can't swim, Graham. All right, well, what you want to do, take the train here to Puttgarden, down here, right? And there's, in Germany, and there's a ship, and the train, I might be able to zoom in so you can actually see the train lines. See the train lines here? See the train lines? Yeah. The train actually, here, goes onto the ship. So you're on the train, and then you're on the ship. You're on a train on the ship. And then the ship goes over here. I've done this. It's really cool. The train goes over here to Denmark, into Rødbyhavn. And you can see here, if I zoom in again, you should be able to see the train line. Oh, there it is. There you go. See this here? This is the train line. And it links up at the other side. So that's how you can take a train direct, kind of, from Hamburg to Copenhagen. How cool is that? It's very cool. I think it's very cool. But these days, you should be able to also go this way, which actually might be quicker. I don't know, but you can now go up through here, across the bridge here, because I think that this bridge is also a rail bridge at the same time. I think that it's I could be wrong. Yeah, see, you can see the railway there. So you've got the road bridge here, which Google has unhelpfully lit up, highlighted for me. But there you go. There's the actual rail bridge. You can get to Copenhagen that way instead. Oh, and by the way, I was saying about it being a tunnel and then a bridge. I think this is a bridge all the way. I think this is a bridge and then a bridge. I don't think they do the tunnel trick on this one. I don't think. I think if you want to get round the island of Zealand, you've got to go the other way. Maybe. I don't know. Can't remember. Anyway, Joe, we can do. Joe, we never do on this show. We should just do this. We should just let the little man drop. Oh, yeah. Yeah, look at this. We're on the bridge. Oh, this is cool. We should do this more. Come on. Where the fuck are we? We're on the bridge. Look at this. It's insane, isn't it? It's absolutely huge. Goes for several miles. Really, really cool. Okay, but more than that now. We're going to go to Copenhagen. Let's go to Copenhagen. So, just so you know, I have a link to Copenhagen. I have a link to Denmark, in that my lovely Auntie Christine married a Danish guy called Jens back in the late 1960s, early 70s, I think. And they moved to Copenhagen. And so she's lived there ever since. And she's got 2 kids, who are now, in their 40s, because we're all dead old now. And they've got kids of their own. And so they're my cousins. And so I've spent a lot of time in Copenhagen over the years. I went there for my work experience, actually, when I was in school. That was so cool. Went there for my work experience. And it was 1994. And it was around the time that the video nasties were all being banned in the UK. So there were certain videos that you couldn't get. Reservoir Dogs, you couldn't get it on VHS at the time. And you couldn't get Clockwork Orange either because it had been banned by the director Stanley Kubrick. And I got copies of them in Copenhagen when I was there. And literally everyone in my year in school borrowed these tapes off me at one point or another because, we were like 15 years old and they were like, you can't watch this. Yeah, but the kids over in Denmark, they can watch it, but you can't. So, I've got a lot of love for Copenhagen. We've got the Rosenberg Slot there. Oh, wow, look at this. This is Rosenberg Castle. A 3D rendered vision of it there in the middle of Copenhagen. And if we go to Freetown, Christiania here, this was an old military base that's been turned into a place where drugs are kind of legal. Well, not all drugs, just soft drugs. And you can see here fortifications. Can you see where the fortifications were built? This is really cool. Ooh, hello. We've got Pineapple Boy. Hello, Pineapple Boy. I haven't seen Pineapple Boy for bloody ages. How you doing, mate? I still haven't written that second book. Sorry, working on it. I've got my ADHD diagnosis though, so I'm halfway there. Jutland, Shelland, and Finn for pronunciation. Finn. Can I just say Finn? Shelland, Jutland, Shelland, and Finn for pronunciation. Thank you. Anyway, so we've also got the castle here. This is the castle over here, and this is Castellet Fortress. And I love the shape of it. It reminds me of Doom. Do you remember in Doom there was somewhere where there was a fortress like this in Doom? I'm pretty sure of it. It had a cyber demon in, I think. And then what else are we going to look for? We got Frederikskirk. Was that the one that burnt down? I don't know. And also, as I'm looking around, Osterport there. And I want to take you to... Oh, no, still go away. Stop. Why is this doing things? Go away. I don't want you to tell me what things are. Go. Oh, how do I get rid of this bloody thing? Oh, God. Going all boomer now, aren't I, in my old age? Come on. Stop it. Go away. Don't want you to do that. No. Fuck's sake. All right, I'll just leave the stupid text on the screen, which is really annoying. I don't want to need to know it's 15 minutes to get anywhere. I'll tell you what. Let's just go to so Nyhaven, which means New Harbour. I'm gonna zoom in here, and what I'll do is fuck off. I'll do the little man, and I'll put him down here, whee, on the bridge. And this is Nyhaven, and this is what you see on all little postcards and stuff. Oh, hello. Why did you take me up there? Oh, I pressed the button, didn't I? Stupid thing. Put me on the bridge. There you go. These are a load of little cafes along here, and you can sit out in the summer. It's so nice to sit out in the summer. I think it's like their equivalent of Canal Street in Manchester, only less full of rain, as you can see here. We'll have a little buzz along, and they've got these wonderful pastel-coloured buildings along here. It's just great. And then you've got these old tall ships, which is really cool. And you can sit out here and have a pint of beer, which costs about £10. But, nice. It's just nice. It's just lovely. It's just a lovely place to go. There's a bin, in case you need a bin. So let's get out of here. Let's go to Tivoli. So I want to tell you about Tivoli, because this is my favourite place in Copenhagen. Tivoli, please. Oh, for God's sake. Okay, right. It's given me. It's gone to a different map now for some reason. Whee! Okay, right. Where's Tivoli? This is cool though, isn't it? Look at this. Palace Hotel. They've got the flag of Ukraine up, just to confuse you if you're playing Where the Fuck Are We? Hans Christian Andersen Boulevard there, Vesterport. What are you even doing to me here? This is not. There's Christopherg Slot. So you have to walk up here and then. Oh my God! No, it's right next to the train station, isn't it? It's next to the train station. You get out the train station and it's just there. Oh, here it is, Tivoli. So there's the train station that I was just looking for. And there is Tivoli Gardens, which is, I love it, backwards. Hey. And if I drop this guy in, can I actually go in Tivoli? Yes! So this is like Alton Towers. Imagine the pier at Brighton or Llandudno and mixed with Alton Towers, right in the middle of a city. It's got all these restaurants. This is a really good steak place, I think, here. They do really good steaks, I think. And then if we go over here, I need to move faster than this. We'll be here all bloody night. Let's move out a little bit. I want to go and have a look at the arcade things. So you've got roller coasters. Let's put me on the street outside. I'm no good at this. Nurse! Right, put me there. Put me there on the roller coaster. Hey! It's just lovely. Like, so they've got loads of little restaurants and loads of little cafes. It's not like Alton Towers where you have to go to McDonald's and shit and buy a Coca-Cola. And look at these roller coasters. It's like in the middle of the city centre. They just have this place with roller coasters. It's the oldest proper what's it called? Place, you know, like Alton Towers. Amusement arcade. No, not amusement arcade. Tivoli Gardens. It's the oldest amusement park in the world that's still in situ where it was. There is a roller coaster that is like 100 years old or something. This is like a little bit of a low sky flyer here. But if we zoom out, so I'm going to zoom out again. There is a sky flyer over here, which is just absolutely mental. I'm going to just drop you in here. Hopefully we can see it. I know there's things in the way. Where is it? No, I thought that might have been it. No, there's one that is just insanely... Oh, there it is. There it is. Look at... Do you like heights? Do you like heights? This here, this sky flyer is just insane. I think it's like 125 meters up, and you're literally sitting on a little chair, with just a chain over you. That's all you've got, and your legs are dangling. Look at them. Look at these mad bastards. What are they doing? And it goes around. I'm telling you this now. Some people watching this are like, that's my worst nightmare, Graham. What are you talking about? But yeah, they often have gigs in Tivoli as well. And you can see it's all like, you know, amusements and food. And then they've got like a pirate ship that you can go on. And it's just fucking boss. It's just boss. I can't recommend Copenhagen enough. If you want to go, it's just a bit expensive. That's my only problem with it. It's a bit expensive. But for a few days, and if you play your cards right and go to the right places. Do you know what I met in Copenhagen when I was there last summer? Femi. Femi just happened to be in Copenhagen for a wedding when I was there. And so we met up and had a cup of coffee. It was boss. It's like, this is so random. Why are these two left-wing influencers meeting up in Copenhagen? Oh my God. If those weird people like, what's her name? Thingy Gill. Charlotte Gill, privately educated, of course, who thinks that there's a big conspiracy of all of us who like make left-wing content on the internet. And she thinks we're all working together. And she's got to prove it. What, by watching our content? Maybe. I don't know. Also, just north, I think, of the Helsing Castle, is it? Oh God, I'm gonna get this wrong now. No, it's not there. Shit. I was gonna show you the Little Mermaid. Should I show you the Little Mermaid? Where's the Little Mermaid? I think she's down there. Sorry, I'm just zooming into something. You can't actually see what I'm doing. Right, sod it. I'll just do Little Mermaid. Little Mermaid Street. I don't want Little Mermaid Street. Oh, there it is. Right, okay. So, I'm not on the map. Get on the map, Graham. Get back on the map. Here's the Little Mermaid. And I'm just going to drop you in. Now, a bit like the Mona Lisa, you get to see the Little Mermaid, and you're like, oh, she's smaller than I thought she would be. Just like the Mona Lisa. There's a lot of people in the way. Can't actually see the Little Mermaid here. There she is. She's like human-sized. Yeah, there's a Little Mermaid who has had her face blurred out because of copyright or something. Just an automatic program that blurs out faces. But there's a Little Mermaid sitting on her rock. Little Mermaid by Hans Christian Andersen, which famously ended with her crying herself to death and turning into seaweed. No, I'm only joking. She turned into sea foam. Great, cool. That's awesome. Yeah. And then where else was going to go to? Elsinore. Oh, is it Elsinore? Elsinore. Where's the castle? Am I mixing my metaphors here? Am I getting the wrong place? There we go. Oh no, it's a Kronborg castle. Okay. Okay. So this was the model for Elsinore in Hamlet. This castle here. We'll just drop our little fella in. I'm sure people have done things. There you go. So this Elsinore castle in Hamlet, which is set in Denmark, something rotten in the state of Denmark and all that jazz. It was set in this castle. I thought it was down as it's down as Kronborg Castle now, but it was the basis for Elsinore Castle as of Hamlet fame. So there you go, Denmark. Right, let's get into it. Let's get into some more information. So like I said, it is. Oh, hang on a sec. Whoa. I want to go back to the map. Back to the map, please. Come on, let's zoom out. Brilliant. Okay, so. Where was I? I've got tinnitus. Sorry, do you ever get tinnitus? I hate it. Anyway, let's zoom out a little bit. Right, so here is. Oh, we're upside down. Hang on, we're still upside. No, we're eastward now, in the westward. There we go. Okay, so if I'm going to just type in Denmark again because then it'll give us a nice little line around it, so we can see where it is on the map. Ooh, okay, so there it is. It's located in Northern Europe, bordered by Germany to the south and surrounded by the North Sea over here and the Baltic Sea over here. And these are the Baltic states. This is the Baltic Sea. See, it says Baltic Sea. It includes the Jutland Peninsula and over 400 islands, the largest being Zealand or Sjælland and Fyn Island, which is the one in the middle. So you've got Jutland, Fyn, and Zealand are the three big ones. The total land area is exactly 43,094 square kilometers, slightly larger than Switzerland. It's got no mountains, but is dotted with lakes, low hills, beaches, and a rolling farmland. Bornholm, a Danish island in the Baltic, lies closer to Sweden than to mainland Denmark. So there you go. I think is that it? Is that it? Is that the one they're talking about? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. Whatever. Copenhagen's closer to Sweden, so I don't know why they're telling me that. Copenhagen, obviously the capital. Copenhagen, spelled with a K in Danish. Aarhus is a key city. Aarhus over here. Madness famously sang a song about Aarhus. We've got Odense, which is the home of Hans Christian Andersen as well. And also we've got Aalborg, which is a northern port city with a lively cultural scene. Aalborg up here. Aalborg, which is the smallest of the four. The three biggest cities. Four biggest cities, even, if I could just remember me numbers. It's got a temperate maritime climate, cool summers, mild winters. It's got high humidity with frequent rain and strong winds. The summer averages between 17 and 22 centigrade Celsius, and the winter averages are 0 to 4 degrees C. Long daylight in summer, very short days in winter. In fact, if you go to Denmark in the summer, midsummer, it never gets really dark. It's like at midnight, it's sort of like a twilight. It's really, really cool. The time zone is Central European Time, which is GMT +1. Daylight saving times applies right now, so it's GMT +2 at the moment in summer. And the capital, Copenhagen, is a population of 1.3 million in the metro area. It's known for its bikes, design, architecture, canals, and nightlife. It's home to Tivoli Gardens, Nijhaven, the Little Mermaid statue, Christiania, and the Roskilde Music Festival nearby. You can get the train there. The trains are absolutely amazing. Public transport's amazing. In Denmark, they have some of the highest taxes in the world, but they have the best public amenities in the world. And it's got that. It ranks highly in the happiness index. It's always in the top 5. Sometimes it tops it in the world, which is amazing for a small country that hasn't got an empire and it rains all the time. Denmark was the first industrialized nation to create an environment ministry in 1971. It has over 200 designated protected areas, including forests, lakes, coastal ecosystems. It's a pioneer in wind technology, leading exporter of wind turbines. Pollution is improving, but agricultural runoff remains a challenge in Denmark because of all the pig shit. I'm not even kidding. There's so many pigs. Oh my God. Rodskov, the forest, is Denmark's largest woodland area, and toxic algae blooms are a seasonal threat to coastal waters. The money is not the euro. They had a referendum in 2000 to see if they would adopt the euro, and they did not. They kept this Danish krone. The Danish krone. Do I have a Danish krone here? I probably do, actually. Do you know what? I've got all my notes on underneath glass on my table here, and I've actually got some money from the Faroe Islands. I got 50 Faroya. That's probably worth about 50 quid. That. Let's have a look. I've got a Quetzal. I've got a Lempiras. I don't think they're any good. Okay. Can't show you the money, but they have krona, which means crown. Okay, and just a quick rule of thumb: it's generally about 10 krona to the pound. So if you see something is 15 krona, just think £1.50. About. These things move about, don't they? Denmark opted out of being in the euro, even though it is in the EU. It also voted against the Lisbon Treaty, and it's one of the awkward Northern countries of the EU that just like, oh God, I want my say on this. It's why they were quite upset when we left the EU without them. Left them on their own, I guess, because they joined the EU with us in 1973. So we were always linked as sort of the northern countries, and the way that maybe we think is different than the way that people in Southern Europe think. I don't know. The flag, it drives on the right. Importantly, the flag here, it's called the Danbrug, and it's red and it's white with a Scandinavian cross. According to legend, it fell from the sky during a 13th century battle. It is the oldest national flag in continuous use, and it's a stonker. It is a good flag. I like this flag. It is recognizable from a long way away. It uses decent colours. It's bold. It's brash. You can see it through binoculars and you can see the ship on the horizon and you know it's Danish. Unlike the flag of, I don't know, Ireland and Cote d'Ivoire, where they have the same flag, it's just upside down. Or maybe the flag of the Netherlands and Luxembourg, which is the same flag except a lighter shade of blue on the Luxembourg flag. And don't get me started on Romania and Chad and Monaco and Indonesia, who literally have the same flag. It's the same flag. It's got a red top, white bottom. It's the not reversed. It's a flipped flag of Poland, which is a boring flag. It's just I don't like tricolours. I'm sorry, I don't like them. Do you know what you want? You want nice big colours like that, right? Nice statement. And a theme running through all the Scandi countries where they have that same sort of cross, right? And also, right, you want a fucking dragon. That's what you want. Wales, Bhutan, you've got the right idea. Have a flag, put a dragon on it. Happy days. Anyway, back to Denmark. Oldest flag, still in continuous use. The national anthem. Should we have a listen to the national anthem? Do you want to listen to the national anthem? Oh, go on then. I'm going to have to get my headphones out. I'll read your messages while I'm getting my headphones out, because otherwise that would be rude. I feel like I've been neglecting you. Hope below Sweden is the island Bornholm. I used to work for Carlsberg Tetley as a pub manager across Bradford in the 90s. Got a trip across the museum and brewery in Copenhagen. Yes, so Carlsberg and Tuborg and skål all come from Denmark. And famously in the film, but not in the book, of Ice Cold in Alex, which is one of the best war movies ever made. They celebrate by having a pint in Alexandria of Ice Cold Carlsberg. That's a hell of an advert. Right, so where do I need to go here? I need to get out of this and find my... Right, here we go. So turn your sound up. Oh, no, you already got your sound up because you're listening to me, aren't you? Here we go. There is a lovely country. Okay, this is the Danish national anthem. There is a lovely country. This is a lovely country. I think something like that. Sorry. I turned the wrong sound on. Right. Okay, let's try that again, shall we? This is the national anthem of Denmark. Let's experience it together. It's 3 minutes. I'm probably not going to do the whole thing. There we go. Now you can hear it. It's better. There stands a lovely country. Oh, that's so nice. There is a lovely country. It stands with broad breeches. What? Trousers. Near the salty eastern beach. Near the salty eastern beach. Okay. Love it. Its hills and valleys gently fall. Its ancient name is Denmark. Cool. Why not? Great film. So Sarky bugger. Absolutely. There is a lovely country. I'm getting shades of my lovely horse from Father Ted. There is a lovely country. They're sat in former times, the armor-suited warriors. But not anymore. We're all dead chill. Resting from conflict. Oh, that's nice. The lyrics date from 1819. The music is from 1835. There's also a royal anthem, which is separate. So they approach their foes, whose bones now rest. Behind the mound's monoliths. Why did they repeat it? Did they have to say it twice? Anyway, okay, you get the idea. I'm going to stop it there because otherwise it'll just go on forever, I think. But yes, that's the Danish national anthem. I do like the idea of them having a separate anthem for the king, right? Or their monarch. It was a queen for a very long time. I do like that idea because it means that you don't have to have God Save the King as our national anthem. I don't think it should be our national anthem. It's like a funeral dirge. I hate it. But yeah, there is a royal anthem. It's called Kong Christian Stud Ved Huizen Mast. And that's used for ceremonial purposes. I probably absolutely butchered the pronunciation of that, but you know, I don't have phonetic spellings here. And it's fun that the word for king is Kong. So I'm guessing that King Kong was either called Kong King or maybe Kong Kong. I don't know. King. But yeah, translated into Danish, King Kong means King King. There you go. Also, God is goods. Like if you have a goods lift, it's spelt God, G-O-D, but it's got the line through it. So it looks like God's lift when you see a goods lift, you're like, oh, God gets a lift. That's cool. So population is around 5.4 million. 70% of that is urbanized. It's the most densely populated proper country in Europe. I think I shouted that by Monaco now. The life expectancy is 75 for men and 80 for women. Most ethnic Danes with small, there's mostly ethnic Danes with small Turkish, Pakistani, Somali and Ethiopian communities there. Highly educated, highly literate, socially liberal, as we all know, but they've been going a bit more right-wing in recent years. What can I say? Family-focused, egalitarian society known for gender equality, tolerance, and low corruption. Very low on the corruption index, they are. They have high taxes, up to 62%, to fund a comprehensive welfare state. It's one of the most equal societies in the world, and it is the birthplace of Hygge, or Hygge, as we like to say, because we don't know how to talk like. They're very passionate about footy. They love their footy and also handball. Other big sports include ice hockey, cycling, tennis, and rowing. Major names include Caroline Wozinski, who played tennis, Christian Eriksen, who played football, and Jonas Vingegaard, the Tour de France winner. They have a strong press tradition. They have the major papers are Jyllands Posten, which is the newspaper that got into loads of trouble around the mid-noughties with the controversial cartoons. It was 2005, actually. The controversial cartoons depicting the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. There was also a newspaper called Politiken and Berglingstuk Tildendi. The state broadcaster is Denmark's radio, and that one's DR1 and DR2, and the commercial TV is TV2, TV3, TV2 Zulu, which is like weird, but there you go. The religion, mostly Evangelical Lutheran Church, 75% affiliation to the Lutheran Protestant Church. Religious practices low. Most Danes are quite secular, relying Muslim and non-religious denominations. Arts and architecture. So obviously Hans Christian Andersen, as we mentioned before, Søren Kierkegaard. We've got Arne Jacobsen, Bjørn Nørgaard, and Olafur Eliasson. We've got iconic Danish design, minimalist, functional, and elegant. Mix of modernist architecture if you go to Copenhagen, and historical castles, which is a bit of a juxtaposition. Smorgasbord is open-faced sandwiches, not to be confused with a smorgasbord, which is a load of different foods on the table. The national dishes include meatballs, which are called frikadelle, and pork belly with parsley sauce, and pickled herring. They love the pickled herring over there. The pastry is known as Danish, locally wienerbrød. The beer is dominated by Carlsberg and Tuborg. Although you can get skål sometimes. And advocate is a potent schnapps, often down as a shot. And as I mentioned before, there's a heavy coffee culture in Denmark, and a surprisingly strong wine culture. The biggest music event in Denmark is the Roskilde Festival, as I mentioned. There's an arts and culture festival in Aarhus, which is well worth checking out. And also there's a Copenhagen Jazz Festival, and there's Copenhagen Pride. No surprise there, really. Major names in cinema include people like Lars von Trier, who did he do Breaking the Waves? He did Dogma. No, he was part of the Dogma thing. He did Dogville, Melancholia, those other movies that are really miserable. Where something horrible happens to a woman and then she dies. Dancer in the Dark with Björk. Nymphomaniac 1 and 2. Yeah. We could talk about that on another show, I think. There's also Susanne Bier. There's also Thomas Vinterberg. The Dogma 95 movement revolutionized indie film. And there were certain rules about Dogma 95, like it had to be all natural lighting, so you couldn't use light like I've got here. So I'll be very dark in this room at the moment. And it was all, there was no ADR. All the recording of the sound had to be done on, into camera. No special effects and all that kind of shit. Another round, or Druk, won the 2021 Oscar for Best International Film. There you go. In literature, obviously, Hans Christian Andersen's fairy tales have been globally beloved, and there's also modern authors such as Peter Hygge and Jussi Adler Olsen and Jens Christine Grøndahl. I'm sorry if I'm butchering the pronunciation of these names. Sites, as I mentioned, Copenhagen. So you've got Tivoli Gardens, well worth checking out. Little Mermaid, Christiansborg Palace, which is where I think the king lives. You've got Roskilde, the Viking Ship Museum, which is well worth checking out. Odense, the birthplace of Hans Christian Andersen. We've got the AROS Museum in Aarhus. You've also got the castles like Kronborg, which is associated with Hamlet, and Frederiksborg. And we've also got Legoland in Billund, which honestly I couldn't recommend it enough. You need 2 days. You need 2 days in Legoland. It's fucking boss. High cost of living in Denmark, but also wages are pretty high. You know, you're looking at a cup of coffee, you're looking at, I don't know, 4 or 5 quid. Beer, you're looking at 7, 8, 9 quid. But you're looking at that in the UK right now. You could probably get a hostel bed for maybe 30 quid. In a dorm, it's expensive. A hotel room, you're going to be paying 100 quid, probably, at least. Public transport, to get a 24-hour pass is about 80 kroner, so that's about 8 quid, so that's not too bad. Travel warnings, there aren't any. Denmark is a safe and stable country, but you have to perform standard caution with bikes. Don't stand in cycle lanes. If you do, you will get mown down by cyclists who seem to think they have right of way when there's a human standing in the lane. They think they need to be mowed down with the cycle. There's no way that the cyclist could possibly use the brakes on the cycle to slow down in order not to hit the pedestrian, because they're only going at 10 miles an hour, so it's not like they've got time to think about it or whatever. And if your partner is deaf and they're standing in a cycle lane and they don't realize it's a cycle lane, and someone's furiously ringing their bell at them, but they can't hear it because they're deaf, it can cause some cultural friction, should we say. But it's the same with cyclists in London, same with cyclists in Amsterdam, just cyclists. They think they own the road. I don't know why. Pedestrians own the road. That's who owns the road. Shut up, cyclists. Shut up, motorists. Shut up, people driving trucks. It's the pedestrians. It's the pedestrians because they're the people who are most likely to be injured in any kind of collision. Anyway, it's expensive. That's the list of my travel warnings. It's expensive, but just accordingly. For gay and lesbian travelers, it's exceptionally welcoming. It was the first country to legalize civil unions between gay people. And there is a vibrant gay scene in Copenhagen and Aarhus. And the annual Copenhagen Pride is one of Europe's best. Really, really recommend it. Major international airport is Copenhagen Airport, CPH, if you want to type that in quickly to find somewhere some planes going over there. There are also rail connections, as I've explained, to Sweden and to Germany. There's also ferries to Norway, Sweden, UK and Iceland. And there are bridge links, the Öresund Bridge to Sweden. There's no visa for most UK, US, Australia visitors for up to 90 days. And you need ID at all times. You've got to have ID on you. So if you get caught on the bus without a ticket and they ask for ID, you should have ID on you. No major health risks, excellent healthcare system. And EU visitors should bring a GHIC or an EHIC card to get health, to get sorted, for health, which is all good. Okay, so let's get into it, shall we? I'm going to start off talking about the history now, a little bit of history. First of all, prehistoric and Bronze Age Denmark up to 500 BC. Denmark was inhabited as early as 12,000 BCE, shortly after the last ice age, because it was ice up to that point. And then the glaciers retreated, ice retreated, and then humans moved north. Early Mesolithic people hunted reindeer and built dugout canoes. By 4000 BC, Neolithic farmers arrived, building megalithic tombs like the Jetsuer, or the Giant's Chambers. The Nordic Bronze Age, from around 1800 to 500 BC, was marked by advanced metallurgy and long-distance trade and religious beliefs. Metallurgy, like doing stuff with metals, Famous artifacts from this time include the Trundholm Sun Chariot, Egdvedgirl, and Lurhorns. Apparently. Elbows up, Canada. Canadian Ollerman in the chat. How you doing, Ollie? Iron Age. So yeah, from 500 BC to around 800 CE, the Jutland Peninsula and surrounding islands became home to Germanic tribes. The Danish territory was part of a cultural and economic sphere that traded with Rome. Development of runic writing, the earliest known runestones, date to around 200 AD. And society was tribal and hierarchical with chieftains and local kings. And then we hit the Viking era from around 800 AD to around 1050 AD or CE. So, about 250 years. Let's go. Okay, so the Viking expansion, they were the Sea Kings of the North. The Viking Age began around 793 AD with the infamous raid on Lindisfarne, not far from me actually, by the Norsemen up in Northumbria, not as it was, Northumberland now. Though this was likely Norwegian Vikings, it heralded the pan-Scandinavian raiding era. Denmark, with its long coastline, shallow draft ships, and strategic position between the North Sea and the Baltic, was perfectly placed to become a maritime power. Danish Vikings were known as raiders, traders, and settlers. They targeted the coast of England, Ireland, France, and Iberia, but also engaged in peaceful trade with the Islamic world, Byzantium, and Slavic lands. They got as far as Baghdad. Wow. Their long ships, Langskrib, the long ships, and Canals, the cargo ships, allowed them to sail across oceans and up shallow rivers. The unification of Denmark took place under Gorm and Harald Bluetooth, for which Bluetooth, the Bluetooth thing that we use for Bluetooth and like music and shit and files slowly, that's named after Harald Bluetooth. And the rune, the little symbol for Bluetooth, the rune, they're the initials of H and B for Harald Bluetooth. True story. Prior to the Viking Age, Denmark consisted of independent chiefdoms and petty kingdoms. Around 936 CE or AD, Gorm the Old, was he born that name? Gorm the Old unified Jutland and claimed kingship over all Danes. He is considered the first historical king of Denmark. His son, Harold Bluetooth, ruled from around 958 to 986 CE. He's famed for converting Denmark to Christianity, a process possibly driven more by diplomacy with the Holy Roman Empire than divine revelation. You know, expediency. Yo. The Jelling stones, the carved rune stones at Jelling in Jutland, were raised by Harold to honour his parents and mark his achievements. Harold, who won all of Denmark and Norway and also made the Danes Christian. That's what I said. Bluetooth technology is named after him, symbolising communication and unification. So, Danish control in England, we had the Danelaw. The Danish Vikings first raided in the 1800s, but their attacks grew more and more organised. In 865 AD, the Great Heathen Army invaded East Anglia, what's now East Anglia. Over the next decades, Danes conquered large swathes of England, establishing the Danelaw, a zone of Danish law, settlement and governance, especially in Northumbria, East Anglia and parts of Mercia. Towns like York, or as it was known, Jorvik, became major Viking centres with Scandinavian culture, language and economy taking roost. If you go to York, there is a Viking museum. It smells funky, but you know, that's just the way it is. Honestly, I recommend it. Really recommend it. It's kind of cool. They've got like you know, people that move. Do they have people? Do they have the animatronic people who, you know, they pick up a bucket and they're dressed as Danes? Danes established the fortified towns or burhs, minted their own coins, and imposed taxation systems like the Danegeld. King Canute the Great, the son of Svein Forkbeard, I love the names. There's like Bloodaxe and Forkbeard and Bluetooth, love it. Became King of England in 1016, Denmark in 1018, and later Norway and parts of Sweden. He ruled what historians now call the North Sea Empire, a rare period of peace and prosperity. Canute embraced Christianity and governed with a mix of Anglo-Saxon and Danish customs. His reign saw legal reform, trade expansion, and church patronage across the empire. But just be careful how you write his name, C-N-U-T. Famously, he was supposed to have said to bid the tide to go back. There's a bit of historical argy-bargy about whether he actually thought that he could bid the waves to go back, or whether he was proving that the waves would not acknowledge him, and he was acknowledging the limit. His power did actually have limits, but yeah. History is written by the least drunk person. So yes, he embraced Christianity and governed, you know, with this mixture of Anglo-Saxon, so what was then English, and Danish customs. And then there was the conflicts with the Franks from France and the Slavs from Eastern Europe. Danish Vikings also raided and traded with the Frankish Empire, modern day France, Germany, and Netherlands. They navigated rivers like the Seine, the Loire, the Rhine, sacking cities including Paris in 845 AD, and under Ragnar Lothbrok. I love the names. He's a bit of a semi-mythical figure, actually, Ragnar Lothbrok. Not going to mess with him, are you? What's your name? Ragnar Lothbrok. In the east, Danish and Swedish Vikings ventured into Slavic territories, founding trading posts and settlements along river routes all the way to the Black Sea, along the Danube. Viking culture in Denmark, Danish Viking society, was structured around chieftains and thing assemblies, as they were called, and warrior aristocracy. Women had rights to their own property, divorce, and the right to run their own households. They played prominent roles in both myth and religion as seerstresses and shield maidens. Religion was Norse paganism, worshipping gods like Odin, Thor, Freya, and Loki. Sacrifices or blut and religious faiths were common. Burial practices include ship burials, cremation, and grave goods. The art at the time, there were elaborate wood carvings, metalwork, and runestones with poetic inscriptions. The Viking Age saw early urbanization. Towns like Ribe, Aarhus, and Hedeby emerged as major trading centers. The decline of the Viking Age started around the middle of the 11th century, so around 1050 AD. It ended as Christianity became more dominant, replacing Norse paganism. Centralized monarchies and nation states emerged in Scandinavia. Continental Europe improved its defenses with castles and militias, etc. The last major Viking raid on England was 1066, and it's not the Battle of Hastings that you're thinking of. It was the Battle of Stamford Bridge, when Harold Hardrada, who was the king of Norway, was defeated at the Battle of Stamford Bridge just weeks before William the Conqueror's invasion. But the thing is, William the Conqueror was a Norman, as in a Norseman, as in a Northman. He was part of the French Vikings that went down and became part of France. So he had Viking ancestry as well. True story. So like the legacy of the Danish Vikings, Viking heritage is deeply embedded in the Danish identity. It's celebrated in festivals and museums, the National Museum of Denmark, the Viking Ship Museum in Roskilde, and public monuments. The Old Norse language is heavily influenced Old English, especially in the north of England. Many places in Britain, anything that ends in by or thorp or toft are of Danish origin. Danish law and governance influenced medieval legal systems, and the Viking Age is romanticized, but also historically grounded. These were sophisticated traders, explorers, and settlers as much as they were raiders going around raping and pillaging, because that's what people did back in the day. Right, have we got any more things in the chat? Graham, you're pronouncing everything wrong. Oh, sorry about that. I can also spell him Knut or Knut. Either of those is safer. True story. Benjamin says, Warsaw, Poland, a US Army battalion's 2-day trip to Gdansk turned into an episode of The Hangover. What? I've got to read that. The witches and wizards followed everyone by the sea, and that's the reason for the Salem witch trials. Loki Stone in Kirby Stephen Church, says Billy Kershaw. Well, Kirk, as in church, that's a Scandinavian word. So anything that Kirkdale, Kirby, West Kirby, Kirk means church. So that's where we get it from. That was the Vikings. Anyway, so then we move on to medieval Denmark. Christianity spreading widely, Denmark becoming a feudal kingdom. Roskilde Cathedral was built. It's just an amazing cathedral. If you want to see an awesome cathedral, it's built of like these little tiny bricks. It's like Lego bricks. Oh my God. It's like it's built of Lego bricks. The bricks that it's built of are freaking tiny. And you're like, there's millions of them. There's a huge building made of tiny bricks. Check it out. Check it out if you ever get to go to Roskilde. It's really worth checking out. Valdemar the Great and his successors from the 1150s to the 1200s expanded Danish influence into the Baltic Sea and northern Germany. The Danish Crusades targeted pagans in Estonia and Latvia. In 1219 AD, the Dannebrog flag is said to have fallen from the sky during the Battle of Tallinn. The Battle of Tallinn, which at that point was called Lindenice. Power struggles between the monarchy and nobility escalated during this time of medieval Denmark, and the Black Death from 1347 to 1351 hit Denmark particularly hard, killing over a third of the population. Then we had the Kalmar Union and the decline of Denmark. The Kalmar Union united Denmark, Norway, and Sweden under one crown, ruled by Queen Marguerite I. Although intended as a partnership, Denmark became dominant, leading to a Swedish rebellion. The union collapsed in 1523, when Sweden broke away under Gustav Vasa. Denmark and Norway remained united, though. And then we had the period of absolutism and Reformation from 1523 to 1660. Christian III, who reigned from 1534 to 1559, led Denmark through the Protestant Reformation. Lutheranism was adopted. Monasteries were closed. He did a Henry VIII. He did it for the money because monasteries had loads of money. So happy days. One of the things I want to say about Vikings, I should have mentioned when we talk about Vikings, and we always think of them raping and pillaging and being Vikings and being unruly brutes. And the reality wasn't quite that. But don't forget, the people they seemed to go after more than anyone else were the clergy. Who were the only people who could read and write back in the day? Who were the people writing the history of any given place? It was a freaking clergy. So, if you want to stay on the good side of history in the history books, don't go after the clergy first, because they're just going to go bloody knobheads. Go after the witches. The clergy would have loved that. Anyway, moving on. Major wars with Sweden, including the Kalmar War from 1611 to 13, and the Dano-Swedish War weakened Denmark after Denmark became a hereditary monarchy under in 1660 under Frederick III, which ended the elective kingship that they had had up to this point. And also with Frederick III came this idea that he was a divine right absolute king, which stayed in place for about 200 years in Denmark. Like it was the only person above Frederick III was God. So much so that his son, when he got crowned, he actually crowned himself because no one was worthy. No human was worthy of crowning him. Divine right absolutism, chosen by God. Sound familiar? Sound familiar? Do you think of anyone else who's currently running around being a knobhead while everyone says, oh, they're chosen by God? Yeah, indeed. Anyway, so during these major wars with Sweden, they lost large territories in Halland and Belking, now in Sweden. And this led to the Treaty of Roskilde, where they lost a lot of land. This is from 1658. And this is sort of seen as a bit of a low point in Danish history because they were forced to give up a load of land to Sweden. And then we had the period of the Maritime Empire and Enlightenment from about 1660 to about 1814. Denmark, Norway remained a colonial and trading power. Greenland, Iceland, Faroe Islands, Danish West Indies, which includes St. Thomas, which was it's now part of the US Virgin Islands, but it was a Danish colony for many years. The Gold Coast in Ghana, which they were in, and also in India, in a place called Tranquebar, the Danes set up a colony there. Fun fact. They built up the Danish Navy and the merchant fleet. In the late 18th century, they saw agricultural reforms and the abolition of serfdom in 1788, and a liberal Enlightenment spirit took over the country. Denmark remained neutral in the Napoleonic Wars. Well, they did until Britain turned up and bombed the shit out of Copenhagen in 1807 and seized the Danish fleet. I say bomb, I mean like, blasted cannibals? They blasted cannibals at them, and the cannibals went around eating people, cannonballs at them from their big fuck-off ships. After Napoleon's defeat, Denmark lost Norway to Sweden in the Treaty of Kiel in 1814. And in the 19th century, we saw the rise of Danish nationalism, literature, Hans Christian Andersen, and constitutional movement. In 1849, Denmark became a constitutional monarchy within a parliamentary system. Up till then, it was a divine right system, and they went from being one of the most regressive regimes in that respect to being one of the most enlightened in the whole of Europe at the time in the parliamentary system that was set up. Tensions with German-speaking Schleswig and Holstein culminated in the Second Schleswig War. Denmark lost Schleswig, Holstein, as in Holstein Pills, and Lüneburg to Prussia and to Austria, and this caused a bit of a national trauma at the time. And then there was a period of modernization and neutrality. A post-war period saw railway expansion, cooperative farming movements, industrialization, rise of social democracy. Denmark remained neutral in European conflicts. Women gained the right to vote in 1915, so a few years before women gained the right to vote in the UK. And then in the throughout World War I, it remained neutral, although trade suffered, clearly. And then in 1920, Northern Schleswig voted to rejoin Denmark in a referendum, a major nationalist victory. This era was marked by the growing welfare state, labour reforms, and strong social movements and political compromise. But then Hitler came along. On the 9th of April 1940, Nazi Germany invaded and Denmark surrendered within 3 hours. They were initially allowed to retain its government and monarchy. King Christian X became a symbol of resistance, riding unescorted through Copenhagen daily, and the Danish resistance mushroomed over time, doing sabotage missions, underground newspapers, and smuggling Jews to Sweden, which I'll come to in a minute. So in 1943, Germans imposed martial law, and overnight, over 7,000 Danish Jews, 95% of the Jewish population were got out of Denmark, evacuated to Sweden. And as a result of that, if you go to Israel, the Denmark is honoured amongst the righteous nations of the world as a result of the fact that they managed to get almost every Jew out of the country before the Nazis imposed martial law and basically just began doing horrible Nazi things. This is what Nazis do. So then that leads us on to the post-war recovery and the sort of welfare state. So Denmark joined the UN in 1945 at the very beginning of the UN. It joined NATO in the very beginning of NATO. In 1949, it joined the OECD in 1961. It built one of the world's most comprehensive welfare states with free education, free healthcare, free eldercare, and unemployment insurance. It saw decades of economic growth, increasing urbanization and labor migration from Turkey, Pakistan, and also the Balkans. The welfare state and the post-war boom, Denmark cemented its status with this comprehensive cradle-to-grave social security and universal healthcare. The Social Democrats led Denmark through much of this period, expanding housing, healthcare, and pensions. There was a significant rise in female workforce participation. It transformed household economics. By the 1970s, Danish women had some of the highest unemployment rates in Europe. Youth rebellion erupted, though, in the 1960s. Students protested against militarism and the rigid education system and consumerism. In 1971, activists occupied an abandoned military base in Christianshavn. But it was christened Christiania, a self-declared autonomous anarchist commune, which is still mostly tolerated by the government. It's become a bit touristy now, though. If you talk to any Dane, they're like, it's not what it was. Not what it was in the 80s. But yeah, tourists like to go there, and it absolutely reeks of weed. If you're not fond of the smell of weed, you might want to give it a swerve. And then Denmark joined the European Economic Community, the EEC as it was, the forerunner of the European Union in 1973, at the same time as Ireland and the UK. However, Danish voters remained rather Eurosceptic, as I mentioned earlier. In 1992, they rejected the Maastricht Treaty. In 2000, they voted against the euro, and they had a staggering 87% turnout for that vote. Denmark retains its own currency, the krone, and opts out of the euro, justice, cooperation, and some defence matters, although it is part of NATO. Denmark, once a model of liberal openness, took a sharp turn to the right in the early 2000s. The Danish People's Party became the Dansk Folkeparti became the third largest party, pushing for stricter immigration controls. In 2002, Denmark introduced some of Europe's strictest immigration laws on the back of this, including spouse laws, which were intended to prevent arranged marriages and created bans on family reunification from outside the EU. The shift was partly sparked by rising Muslim immigration, especially from the Middle East, Somalia, and Turkey. And don't forget, around that time, you had 9/11 happening in 2001. So there was a lot of anti-Muslim sentiments around the West, and governments around the world wanting to tighten things up to stop the Nazis getting back into power by using immigration as a Trojan horse to get through their nonsense, as they do. So then in 2005, we had the Mohammed cartoons controversy. So in 2005, the right-wing daily, Jyllands Posten, which is a bit like The Sun, it's their equivalent of The Sun, I'm afraid, published 12 cartoons of the Prophet Muhammad. The publication led to global outrage, mass protests, an attack on Danish embassies, an economic boycott on Danish goods in Muslim countries. Over 134 million euros in trade was lost in the Middle East. Denmark's image as a liberal, tolerant country was significantly damaged, and the incident ignited a fierce domestic debate on religious freedom of speech and religious respect. Despite the conservative shifts, Denmark remained at the forefront of progressive policy overall. It was the first, like I said, it was the first country in the world to legalize same-sex unions, in 1989, and it finally legalized same-sex marriage in 2012. Denmark is also the global leader in green energy, especially in wind power, supplying 20% of its electricity from turbines. I think it might be more than that. I think that data might be out of date. You need to update your data. In 1953, Denmark amended its constitution to allow a female monarch. Wasn't allowed before, paving the way for Queen Marguerite II, who ascended to the throne in 1972 and actually stood down last year to allow Crown Prince Frederick and his wife Mary Donaldson, who was an Aussie. She's an Aussie, and she was hanging out in a bar in Sydney, right? And basically, it was one of those bars that I can't remember the story. I think either she said, "Oh, I'll get you in," but basically, the crown prince couldn't get in because I think when they had one of those rules where they only allowed a certain number of men in, or you had to have a woman with you in order to get into this bar. And she said, "Oh, I'll get you in. I'll get you in." And they got talking, and it turned out that he was actually Prince Charming. Actually, and they got married, and this was a huge event. 2004 marriage of Crown Prince Frederick and Mary Donaldson. She was from Tasmania, but they met in Sydney. It was a huge event, drawing millions of viewers globally. I had an Australian girlfriend at the time, so I watched it. The Queen is highly respected, known for her art. Well, the Queen Marguerite, before she stepped down, she's still with us. She was known for her art and translation work and designs for Tolkien's Lord of the Rings. Fun fact. Going on to like the final to wrap up. Denmark is politically centralist. It's governed by coalitions of the Venstre, the central right liberals, and social democrats, and smaller parties like Radical Venstre or something, Venstre, which means the radical left, or the Einstenlisten, which means unity list. Immigration remains a dominant political issue, of course, because people like to be racist. Parties have coalesced around restricted policies, even centre-left parties. Something similar has happened in this country, obviously. But Copenhagen continues to be a hub of liberal values, technology, culture, and design, sometimes at odds with more rural conservative regions. Okay, well, that's it. That brings you up to date. Telling you a little bit about the Vikings, what they did, what they got about, and some of the old people in the charge, the kings, queens, Bluetooths, forking beards. Take your forking beards out of it. In conclusion, Denmark is fucking awesome. It's on my top 10 countries in the world. I know I'm biased because I spent a lot of time there, and as a kid, go and visit my auntie and uncle, get the boat over from Newcastle. Used to be able to get the boat from Newcastle to Denmark. Can't do that anymore, but you used to be able to. I once had a birthday. I think it was my 6th or 7th birthday in Denmark, and that was fucking awesome because I got to get up in the morning, have a party. We had a breakfast party, because in Denmark the food is awesome. They like putting out a smorgasbord. It's meats and cheese and bread and things like that. But obviously Danish pastries come from Denmark. And then we got on the ship, and then on the ship they brought out a massive cake for me because I was on the ship. It was choppy waters going back to Newcastle. It was I ended up chucking up afterwards, but I mean, it was nice. It was nice to get a cake, and then I came back to Liverpool and had another party with my little mates in Liverpool as well. So that was the year of my free parties. I've also been there over Christmas, and the Danes celebrate Christmas on Christmas Eve. They open their presents on Christmas Eve. They don't wait till Christmas Day. They're just so impatient. No, so Christmas Eve is the day of jollity where you go get drunk and have fun and see your family. Christmas Day itself, you're supposed to go to church. Let's go to church and celebrate the birth of Jesus. But people don't go to church as much these days. But yeah, they do their Christmas stuff on Christmas Eve, so you get it a day earlier. If you go there in the winter, it does tend to snow, so you can see a lot of snow there. But if you go there in the summer, honestly, if you get a few good days, and both times I've been to Roskilde, it's been absolutely stunning. The last time I went to Roskilde, I managed to get a +1. I'm going to be terrible. If I ever go into politics, they're going to list all the gigs and festivals that I managed to blag my way into. And they're going to be like, whoa, we can't let this guy into politics. Have you seen how many things he's blagged his way into? Anyway, so through connections, through my family, I managed to get a guest ticket for Roskilde. And they had tents set out already for people to, get into. And the tents were all black, which would have been great, if it was a bit overcast. But it was like just, there was not a cloud in the sky. And because it was a black tent, hot tents get anyway. It was like trying to get into a sauna. Even at the end of the day, it was like, oh my God. So you'd wake up at like 5 in the morning, not because you wanted to, but because the tent was too bloody hot. So yeah, Roskilde, great festival. Legoland, really recommend it. Copenhagen is a really wonderful city to spend a few days in. The people there are just totally chillaxed. It's really cool. Like I said, Maersk are the biggest shipping company in the world, and they actually helped me out on my odyssey, my journey to every country in the world. They were the people who took me from Mauritius down to Durban in South Africa on my way back to South Sudan. I had to get back to Africa, and they took me down there. And Maersk are, I mean, if you sign up for a 6-month contract to Maersk, you're not allowed to drink for 6 months. Not at all. Even if the ship's in port and you're in town, you're not allowed to drink ever at all. That's it. 6 months, no drinking. Get away from your family for 6 months and you can't drink. I don't know. But yeah, Maersk are absolutely mammoose as a shipping company. Like I say, biggest in the world. I think the second biggest is CMA-GM. You also got like Hamburg, Sud and stuff like that. But Maersk is by far the biggest. And yeah, also my Danish family also helped me get on the Eimskip line, which was a line that ran from Halifax in Nova Scotia in Canada. Then went to Newfoundland. Then it went to Iceland. So I went to Reykjavik in Iceland. Then I got on another ship, and that took me around to Reyðarfjörður on the east coast of Iceland, and then went down to wonderful little where did they go from there? Netherlands. Went to the Netherlands from there. If you want to try and get around Europe without flying, one of the places that you will have to go to is Iceland, because it's part of Europe. And I'm not going to have anyone tell me it's not. And to get there, there is a ferry that you can get from Norway, and there's also one from Denmark, I think. But the one that I got in the past went from Norway, I think. It went from... No, it didn't. It went from Denmark. It went from the very north of Jutland. It went from the very north of Jutland, and it goes to the Faroe Islands. Can I just bring the map up again for a moment? I know you're bored now and you want to get off because I've been rabbiting on for an hour and a half about bloody Denmark. No one cares about Denmark this much, Graham. But I don't care. I mean, I've got a captive audience, kind of. Yeah. So if you go from Denmark, you go from the north of Denmark here, and you want to get to Iceland over here. You go via these islands, the Faroe Islands, which are just bloody. They're just bloody wonderful. Going through here, going through these little fjordy bits on a ship is really cool. Tórshavn is the capital there. And what's particularly cool about Tórshavn is they have, I don't know if you'll be able to see it from just starting here, but they have grass. Yes, they've done it. Yes, I'm glad they put it. Look, they got grass on the roofs. They've got grass. See all the grass? They grow grass on the roofs for insulation. How cool is that? Must be a nightmare to try and, I don't know. Must be a nightmare to try and cut. Anyway, so at an angle. So that's the Faroe Islands there. And someone said, how far is it from Britain? And you say, it's a Faroe. Okay, stop the shit jokes. And the other thing that Denmark owns is Greenland, which is in the news at the moment because the tangerine tyrant, Mango Mussolini, fat Hitler, he wants to take over Greenland because he's looking at it and going, oh, I'd like a bit of that. Because, do you know what? Google Earth doesn't allow you to angle it. Basically, he wants to take over this whole section, this half of the Arctic Circle. And he's a bit annoyed because Greenland and Canada are in the way. And he wants his mate, Vladimir Putin, to take over the Russian side here, which is the Russian side of the Arctic Circle. Because they both want to take over the Arctic together, like lovers do. But yeah, and also when we were talking about other places that used to be part of Denmark but aren't anymore, if we zoom into the British Virgin Islands, you'll find the US Virgin Islands hiding underneath them. And this is St. Thomas down here. If we go, well, this is the island of St. Thomas. And it is St. Thomas, isn't it? US Virgin Islands. I'm pretty sure it's St. Thomas. It must be. It's the biggest one. It will tell, but there was a sign saying that it was St. Thomas. But never mind. And if we drop ourselves down here, it's a very interesting place, right? Because here's the street view. Right. They actually drive on the left. This is madness. You can't really see it, can you? So this was Danish. This is the US Virgin Island of St. Thomas. This was Danish until 1917 when the Americans bought it with money off the Danes for, I think, the equivalent of about 500 million these days. So you know, but it's all right. Oh no, that's St. Quox. Hang on. What is this, St. Quox? That's not it, is it? Well, where the bloody hell are we? British Virgin. Oh, there's Charlotte Ammy. There it is. There's St. Thomas. Sorry, everyone. Just ignore what I just said. Charlotte Amelie is the capital. There's St. Thomas. So this was part of Denmark. Ignore that stupid St. Croix place. I was in the wrong place. And if we go down here, you'll see they drive on the left. Look, we're driving on the left. But here's the thing. If I zoom into the cars, they're actually left-hand drive cars. You can't really see here, maybe. I don't know. You can just about see. So they have left-hand drive cars, but they drive on the left. Anyway, so, whoa, look at all these boats. Look at all these boats in the water. That's the St. Thomas there, the fast ferry. Takes you over to the UK Virgin Islands, or the British Virgin Islands. But yes, these are the Virgin Islands. There's the British Virgin Islands over there, and these are the US Virgin Islands. Smuggler's Cove. Pretty cool. Charlotte Amelie is the capital of the US Virgin Islands. But yeah, I took a boat. I took there. I took the the Road Town Fast Ferry, I think. Is it the Road Town Fast Ferry? Did I take it from here? No, that's Cruz Bay. I must have taken it from here somewhere. Road Town. There's Road Town. Yeah. There's a ferry that goes from Road Town here in the British Virgin Islands, and that takes you round to what used to be part of Denmark. So here's my postulation before I bugger off. I say that America has no right whatsoever to claim any kind of ownership over Greenland. Greenland was never a colony of America. It never has been. It never will be. It was discovered by Eric the Viking back in the day, back in the midst of time, and 1,200 years ago, and the Danes have been there ever since. So piss off. But St. Thomas in the US Virgin Islands, on the other hand, that used to be Danish. I think there's a good argument to be made that St. Thomas should be taken back by the Danish, because the Americans, they're not doing very well with it. They're not. Yeah, you haven't seen anything like this. They just haven't done very well. It's the murder capital of the world by capita. Oh, it is. But there you go. Tangerine Palper time. Indeed. Davy Crockett is actually an island nation, as most of the population live on an island next to Sweden. Most people see Jutland. Well, yes, it is. My daughter is actually in the Caribbean at the moment, says Danny. That's pretty cool. Get her to go to St. Thomas and say hello. Jamaica, or does she go by her own accord? Hey! Where are you going on holiday? Alaska. Oh, don't you know? America has stopped using the law, so all bets are off. Exactly. Exactamundo. Right, my friends. That's all you need to know about Denmark. If there's anything else that I've forgotten, which I probably have, I'm very sorry. Next week, I will be returning with another episode of Hughes of the World. And I'm just going to have to is it the Dominican Republic next? Is it Dominica? Is it Dominican Republic next? I don't know. Next episode. Country. Next episode. I don't know. That's why you shouldn't bother with trying to get these things to do what you need them to do. They're just a helpful robot that gets everything wrong. Right. 1 second. Let's roll on. Djibouti. Oh yeah, because O comes after Djibouti. So we'll be going to Djibouti in Africa, in East Africa. We're going to be going to Djibouti, which was the old French Somalia. And we'll be diving in to the history of the region next week. So please join us for that when we're going to one of the best named countries in the world, which is Djibouti. Bring it. Until then, thank you very much for watching. Thanks for the super chats. I think I got a couple. Thanks very much for your wonderful comments. And until tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, when I can see you again for Hughes of the World, I'll say hello, good evening, welcome, and give us a like on the way out. Goodbye.